Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're going to talk about What If Episode 9. What if the Watcher broke his promise? Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent, and today we're talking about the finale of What If Season 1, What If the Watcher broke his promise. So, I thought this series started off strong. I've been kind of negative about it the last couple episodes, thinking they were mediocre, and I gotta say, this is my least favorite of all the Marvel shows, below Loki. And I thought Loki was pretty mediocre as well, and kind of dragged and lulled there in the middle. But Loki did pick itself up at the end. This show, however, I feel like just kind of wasted the opportunity to really have a what if show. I know they're married to the idea of what if in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think that's fine. I think they did have some good ideas, but overall they didn't really follow through on them, or they just wanted to get their ideas far enough across the finish line in order to satisfy this ending. So before we talk about any more of this, let me ask you to please do me a favor and please subscribe. Helps me out, helps the channel grow, lets you know when I drop new videos, all that good stuff. Smash that like button. And yeah, so I feel like the show was really conceived of this ending or something like that. And they said, who do we want in the show? What characters do we want? And then we need to give them stories here, instead of being what I kind of wanted it to be, which is, it's not a crime in itself. The show is what the creators wanted it to be, and that's fine. But a true what if story lives in its own universe, right? Like in the comic books or whatever. You don't have what if stories crossing over to each other to satisfy some overarching plan. And I think that's where the show kind of really suffered the most, is that you kind of felt as it went on that there were these cliffhangers or dark endings, and you kind of felt like, oh, well, this is definitely going to go somewhere, right? Because it didn't have a resolution at the end of every episode. Specifically like the Killmonger episode, right? That was kind of a weird little ending. Because they were like, we're going to go get him, and then the episode ended. And then you had the last, the Thor episode ended with the Ultron's landing, and then you had the Ultron episode last week. So you kind of got the clues as the series was going on that this was going to go somewhere in particular. So we ended up in that place with this episode. This episode was action-packed. I got to give it that. Although I do feel like there were some points where I was watching it where the animation was a little faulty. It felt a little bit lackluster or subpar compared to some other episodes, especially the earlier ones. Like, I got to say, the Captain Carter episode and the Captain Carter storyline and character is the best idea that they've ever had. And if they want to do an animated show of just Captain Carter, fine. Let's do that. But please, let's spin off these what-ifs into alternate stories instead of just rehashing the same stories again with a different character. Like, this episode opened with the opening from The Winter Soldier, right? And you have Captain Carter and Black Widow having the same conversation that Steve Rogers has with Black Widow in that film. Do I really think they'd be having the same conversation? No. Is it cute that they were? Maybe. But at the end of the day, it didn't really, I was not invested in that scene because I was like, oh, I've seen this before. Oh, there's nothing new here. Ha ha, the accounting girl joke, or boy now joke. Ha ha, funny. And, Bad Rock the Leaper was a little bit more talkative in this episode than he was in the movie. Sorry, GSP. But it's like, just tell a different story, for crying out loud, instead of rehashing the same story over and over again. So I feel like if you're going to rehash the same story, then you need to put a twist on everything, right? If you're going to do that, then put a twist on everything rather than have a different character go through the exact same story. That's not interesting. Oh, or if you're gonna, if you're gonna tell a new story, tell a new story. Like, do it if you're gonna rehash it, but make it different enough that it's interesting, or just tell a new story. And we never really got that here. And the new stories that they did tell, let me take that back. They did do that, but the new stories they did tell were not that good, or they were shallow, or they were, the characters never really changed. Like, T'Challa Star-Lord should be fucking traumatized, not this confident person he is, to be kidnapped at 11, as inquisitive as T'Challa was at that age or whatever. Like, he should not be the person he is. There's no way, I still maintain this, there's no way he should be the same person. Thor, same thing. Thor bro, should not be this happy-go-lucky dude just because he lost his brother. Like, he still has the same mom and the same dad. And you don't think that they would raise him this differently because there was no Loki in the picture? That doesn't make any sense. So, I just wish that they had followed through on their ideas. And that's, I think, what this show lacked, was follow through in the initial batch of episodes. Maybe because they wanted this type of ending, this type of story at the end. I don't know. But I feel like overall the series faltered for that. So this episode in particular was action-packed. It was kind of fun. But overall the distaste, the dislike of the show so far when I was watching it did not let me enjoy it more than, that maybe some of you guys who are enjoying the show did. Like, I wasn't able to come in with like fresh eyes or whatever. I was like, all right, here we go. Here's the conclusion. Let's finish this. And, is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know. I'm just giving you my opinion based on my perspective, and that's all you can really do. If you disagree with it, that's totally fine. It's valid. You can have a valid opinion and a valid disagreement with my opinion. That's fine. That's what discourse is all about, right? So, I do think it's a little weird that you have Ultron with all the Infinity Stones still doing the same stuff that one would do with one Infinity Stone. And I'm talking about energy blast and shields and levitation, telekinesis, time stoppage, like using them all at different times instead of all at once. I don't know whether that idea never came through to Ultron or if it wasn't communicated, but one would think if you have the Mind Stone or the Power Stone or whatever, that the stones would communicate to you that, oh no, you need to think outside the box when you have all of us together or something like that. And I know they're not like sentient beings inside the stones, but it's just a little weird that he never had the idea that Thanos did, that one idea and a snap of the fingers and I use all the stones at once can change the entire universe and is more of a threat than using each stone individually at separate times. So that was a little weird. And so again, you have this villain who has this same threat as Thanos, but is not as threatening because he can't think in the same way that a real being does. Again, Ultron is this artificial intelligence, and maybe that's the limitation. But they never really explored that in the show to say like, well, Ultron is limited in this way because of this, this, and this. You're just left here asking these questions going, why isn't he thinking like I know he's not Thanos and not thinking in the same way, but Ultron ultimately wants more damage than Thanos. Ultron wants to have peace at all costs, which means the death of life at all costs, which is twice as worse as what Thanos wanted. Thanos just wanted half the universe gone, right? So here you have a character that's supposed to be more of a threat than Thanos in terms of what he wants in his endgame, but at the same time he's less of a threat because you don't have, like, the stuff they did in this episode to defeat Ultron was way less than whatever they did in Endgame, right? Like, you gotta look at the characters and their power sets, and you're like, you have the entire Endgame scene, and, yes, I'm comparing the cartoon to the movie, but just like story-wise, it doesn't make sense why you had to have all those people help to defeat Thanos at the end, and all the heroes and stuff. And I know you can write it whatever way you want. I'm just picking apart the logic here. But these 5 can defeat Ultron. I still have issues with this idea that I expressed in the Ultron episode that Arnim Zola, the older computer virus from the 1950s, beats a 2015 computer virus written by Tony Stark and all that stuff. I don't think artificial intelligence works that way, even in a sci-fi world. Like, the older code would still be beaten by the newer code. Like if he's written in Ada, this guy's written in C++ and Java or whatever, like that would just kind of overtake that shit because it's easier to write. So I still don't buy that. I mean, it's fine that they still turned it like. And the other thing too about this episode is like you're fighting Ultron. That's the point of the episode. We did that halfway through, and then we still spend almost half the episode with this double crosses and double twists about Killmonger, and then Zola in Ultron's body gets a quick hit with actually having the face in the bottom of the robot or whatever. Haha, cool. That's the comics accurate now. I still have all this stuff going on, and oh well, this was never the plan all along to defeat Ultron. The plan was to get these stones in this weird thing, and Doctor Strange puts his crystal around him, and that's it. Like what? Then why did we have this threat the whole time with Ultron? If the Watcher already knew the end result, I guess my question is, why were we worried about it at all? And why were we why was this really a thing? I guess is my question. If he knew the ending already, why was it a thing? Why couldn't we have not had all the interconnected stories and just had another fun story in a different way rather than this bring them all together thing? And really the what if in this episode broke his promise, which is the Watcher knew everything was going to happen, so he's not breaking his promise there, I don't think. I think he's breaking his promise at the end when he puts Black Widow from the Ultron world into this other universe where Captain Marvel is fighting Loki with the Avengers and stuff. This other world where Captain Marvel never went to space, I guess. Maybe that's where he broke his promise. So the answer to the what if here is he makes someone happy. So yeah, I think it all kind of falls apart if you really look at it like closely and just go like, you know, as a fun diversion, does it work? Yeah, I think a little bit in that way, but you really have to try and ignore some of the weird things that they did with not following through their what ifs in the earlier episodes to really say that this series as a whole works. So I think it suffers because of those early choices not to follow through on their what ifs and make these characters different, and instead go to the film actors and go, hey, you're voicing the same character, he's gone through the same shit, just do it the same way, Chadwick Boseman, and yeah, you're Star-Lord, but you're the same T'Challa. And he's like, okay, I will do the same voice, which is a terrible T'Challa Chadwick Boseman impression, I'm sorry. God rest his soul. A big loss, obviously. He was the guy that did the best in this whole thing. Like, I think Chris Hemsworth, this bro Thor, still sucks here. Benedict Cumberbatch still playing basically the same Doctor Strange. Like, he's not evil Doctor Strange really in any way. So that's the same character. Haley Atwell. So the best voice performance awards we will give from BK's Bullets to Haley Atwell, who is phenomenal. Really enjoyed her performance. Chadwick Boseman, and in second place. So there you go. Close third for Benedict Cumberbatch for doing the same thing. Worst performances, I guess anybody who didn't come back. He gave it to Brie Larson for not coming back at all for Captain Marvel in this weird way that you're like, she's home during the pandemic doing a freaking YouTube channel or whatever. Anyway, so some weird things going on there. So that's my thoughts on What If finale and the series as a whole. Let me know down below if you guys wholeheartedly disagree with me and why. Am I being too harsh on this show? Am I being nitpicky? I think we're getting a season 2. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I know what I want from it. I just want a different anthology and just tell some stories, and let's really follow through on the character choices you're making when you plan out your what ifs instead of this wishy-washy stuff we got this time. And I don't want a crossover. Just give me separate independent stories, make it a fun anthology show that's a nice diversion from the main Marvel Cinematic Universe. And if you're going to rehash, then you got to twist every little part of that rehash. Don't just make it a different character in the same movie, because that's no fun. So there you have it. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought of this episode and the series as a whole. We will see you guys here on BK's Bullets next time in the Funny Pages.